The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed on the Nova Society are those of our guests and panel members and do not represent the views, thoughts, and opinions of any institution any member of the Nova Society is associated with. The material information presented on the Nova Society is for general information purposes only. Reproduction or dissemination for the purpose other than education is prohibited without express written consent of the Nova Society. The following episode was recorded on May 31st, 2024. We'd like to welcome everyone back to the Nova Society, and today we continue our conversation around the Trump verdict that was handed down on May 30th of 2024. We get some insight as Scott will present to us how he thinks he could have gotten Trump off. And we'll also discuss what the verdict might mean for the elections in November. So let's listen in.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff out there. And the fact is that, people don't recognize everything is a witch hunt. Everything is unfair. He is the consummate victim. I've never, they started using the term, the right started using the term about, the left and calling them snowflakes. Well, if there's anyone, if we had a dictionary and the term snowflake as it relates to politics, Donald J. Trump would be the picture that they would show, because he's, for somebody who's supposedly such a strong man, a strong leader, the whole world's against him, according to him. And the fact is that strong people don't buckle under this. And they don't whine about it. That's all the man does is whine about what's happening to him. And it's a creation of his own. He's the one that was told, do not break the gag order. And he did anyway. He's the one that slept with the porn star. Nobody else. Mm-hmm. He's the one that he's created his own. These are of his own creation. And I think we have to remember this. And because he's being called out for it, I mean, I'm sorry, people, that's the way it's supposed to work when you do something like this. It's
Hey, could I add to that?
It's
sure,
accountability.
Absolutely.
Yeah, please.
Because I was watching the interview. There were two interviews with his lawyer, Blanche, last night, and I saw one of them, and I saw clips of the other one. And one of the things that he was asked was how much input did Trump have, and he said, "Oh, quite a bit, as you can imagine. He's took a lively interest in this, and he really made a lot of suggestions." Now, one problem with that is that Trump made them go down this road of he never slept with Stormy Daniels. He did not. That was one of his original defenses. And then, of course, they bring in Stormy Daniels and she tells the story. It sounds really like she had details, like she knew things. And it sounded a lot like Trump, the pajamas and all that kind of stuff. So that turned out to be a bad idea. But then the next thing was this. And I mentioned this a few weeks ago when we were talking about the trial when it began. And I really do think, and now I'm not an attorney, right? I'm not a lawyer, but I think I could have gotten doubt in the mind of at least a juror. And all you need is one, right?
That's right. That's exactly right.
And I could have done that with the material that they had, that they went over. And would you like to hear how I would have done it?
Please.
There's an audio tape that Michael Cohen made that was played at the trial. And on that audio tape, Trump says, pay cash. And Michael Cohen goes, no. And he lays out the plan. And Trump goes along with it. Now, stop right there, okay? For one thing, Trump says pay cash. Now, paying off a porn star or a porn actress is not illegal. There's nothing illegal about the payoff.
Nope.
Trump says cash. If they had paid cash, this would be over. They would have paid $130,000 in cash, taken it out of wherever bank account, paid it, and that would have been the end of it. But Cohn, as his fixer, right, says no, 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 no. Now, Hope Hicks had testified that, yes, Cohn was a fixer, but usually only after he broke stuff. Then he would fix them.
Yeah.
And this is a perfect example of that, right? And I would say, if I was the attorney, it wasn't just bad advice, it was bad faith advice. Michael Cohn ended up getting paid $420,000 for that $130,000 payoff. That's not a bad chunk of change to get. Michael Cohn did that, right? Trump said pay cash, and Cohn goes, no, 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 right? That's Cohn. And I would repeat that about 1,000 times to my jury. Every chance I got, I would say, remember that audio tape? Trump says pay cash, and Cohn's the one who says, no, 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 no. Pay cash. No, 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 no. Pay cash. No, 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 no. And keep repeating that. Keep repeating it until the jury begins to think, man, maybe it really was just Michael Cohn the whole time. Really, he's the one who ended up with $420,000 on a $130,000 investment. Not terrible. And Michael Cohn is the one who has already gone to jail for this crime. Trump has nothing to do with it. Trump said pay cash. He got bad, not just bad advice, but bad faith advice from somebody who was taking advantage of him. Donald Trump is a victim here, not the perpetrator. He's the victim. And whatever the merits of the argument, I really do believe that I could get in one juror's mind enough doubt that you couldn't say it was beyond reasonable.
And I agree. And you know what, Scott, that's my entire point. You have 12 people. It is the prosecution's responsibility to convince all 12. The defense only must convince or have doubt in one. That's all they need. That is all that is necessary. And
not a lot of doubt.
Not a lot of doubt. Yeah, I mean, it's not it just has to be a little. And the fact is that they couldn't even accomplish that. I was listening to one of the news programs that was talking about where the jurors, because there was a question to the jurors, where do you get your news? One of them, only from Truth Social.
Truth Social on Twitter.
Yep.
Interesting.
Which I don't know if you guys are on Twitter, but that is as
and I think that was one of the attorneys. I believe it was one of the attorneys. So, I mean, you couldn't convince the guy that listens to Truth Social, that listens to just Twitter, you couldn't convince him to have some doubt.
Well, here is where Trump's previous behavior has come back. Then, because you've got an excellent argument there, Scott. It seems to me. Also, if Trump had paid his trial lawyers, all the decent ones who have quit and won't work for him anymore, so that he had a good set of experienced trial defense lawyers rather than a trial lawyers, defense lawyers, they're experienced in trial law. And other people do other types of law, and it shows.
Well, and as Scott said, it's not illegal to sleep with an adult film actress. It's not illegal.
Right. No.
It looks bad, but I would probably say that there is a large portion of the American male and probably female population that would do the same thing with Stormy Daniels. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure Stormy Daniels, I'm sure nobody would say, oh, no, gee, no. But it looks bad.
Yeah.
Especially when your wife is home, just having had, your child.
Right.
It's sleazy. And the thing that gets me is that,
why
it's
deny
not
it?
illegal. Why deny it? You won the election in 2016, because this didn't come out. That's hindsight. I don't know. If it came out, would it have made a difference? Maybe, possibly. It was awful close. So it's possible that it would have made a difference. But you know what your base thinks now. They basically accept anything. Why not just say, yeah, okay, I slept with her. It isn't going to change anybody's mind.
It's not like, no. And it's not like Melania is really going to care. You're not saving.
No, she's probably saying, "Thank God it's her, not me." I mean, who knows?
Well, yeah. At the very least, they had sex in 2006. He had all the time in the world to pay her off if he wanted to keep her quiet, to keep it from the newspapers and Melania. He didn't. He only did it in 2016 when he just happened to be running for president and just happened to have had the Access Hollywood tape come out. So yeah, this might have sunk him. I mean, Access Hollywood was a body blow to his candidacy, which he probably should not have recovered from, but somehow did. And another one coming down the pike, whether it was McDougal or Daniels, could have been another body blow. And how many can you take before you can't get up again? And it's certainly possible, but it does sort of underscore that this was about the election.
Well, it does. Mm-hmm. I mean, let's face it. What's saying Hillary Clinton? James Comey.
Yeah.
1 week before the election, bringing up about the server and this, that, and the other again. That's what sunk Clinton. Now, this might have been the equalizer. And let's remember, in the 3 swing states that went to Trump, the total vote count was 70,000 votes across all of them. That's not a lot.
No.
Out of 120 million, I think it was 124 million. 63 million or 123 million. 63 million for Clinton, 60 million for Trump. Out of 123 million, 70,000 is nothing. That's a small town. I mean, it really is not it really isn't a lot of. So yeah, these things could swing, and I think that's what the point of this being of these charges being moved to be felonies is, that we can infer that it was done to keep it quiet in the furtherance of him being able to keep this information away from the public so that he had a chance to win. So, yeah. So, so we've talked about the thing and the trial and all that stuff. What does this mean for the elections? Does it mean anything? And I'm going to say right now, anybody that pays attention to polls today, and this, as Scott mentioned, this we're taping this on Friday the 31st. This will come out. It will be Monday, Wednesday, and Friday because we're going to do 3 of these. Anybody that pays attention to the polls today or over the next couple of weeks, you're really looking at the wrong thing, because people are just absorbing this right now. So what do you think this might mean for the election? Let's start with the Republicans. Do you think he's going to lose any more Republicans out of his camp as far as leadership in the Republican National Committee?
No, not the Republicans who are afraid of him because he has the compromise on them.
Yeah, but Scott, I agree with you. Not publicly. What they do privately when they actually vote, I don't know. Do you think they'd say one thing publicly and then privately do something else when they vote?
A politician? Are you kidding me? Say one thing and then do another? I mean, what are you talking about? That's crazy talk. That's absolute crazy talk when we're saying that a politician is going to say one thing and do another thing. Brooklyn, I'm surprised that you come on, stop. I mean, now we're going to wonder if you've been drinking, because that's just an absolutely ridiculous concept. Interesting, though, we have not heard from Mitch McConnell.
I think we have.
Oh, have we now?
Yeah, I think Mitch McConnell is on board with the Republican line of this was somehow a corrupt
I hadn't seen
witch hunt or something like that.
Have we heard from Lindsey Graham?
Yes, we have.
Okay, I didn't see him. I didn't see his face either. So
yeah, we've seen a couple of we've seen a couple of them. not, you know, I think everybody that you would expect to support him has supported him, and probably some people who you might not even think about. It's not like Susan Collins, you know, Susan Collins, who, you know, really got, I think, chastened by the idea that, you know, he was going to learn his lesson, right?
Yeah.
Wasn't that one of the things? I forget which impeachment that was. I think that was the first impeachment.
I think it was too.
Yeah, the Zelensky impeachment, and she came out with a statement. The district attorney who campaigned on a promise to prosecute Donald Trump. Oops. Well, sorry, Susan, but that didn't happen. And that there's political underpinnings of this case. So Susan Collins is on board. I think the Republican Party, first of all, they know that he's the candidate. You know, they're not changing this. This is, you know, the race is fixed. It's Biden versus Trump. And so they're circling the wagons around Trump. Every single Mike Lee of Utah has been going berserk on Twitter. He's tweeting every 5 minutes something else about what was wrong with this trial, what was wrong with the judge, what was wrong with the jury, what was wrong with the, you know, the prosecution. I mean, just one after another.
Really?
So yeah,
have you talked about what was wrong with the courthouse and the chairs and
too cold in the room? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it really is that steady a stream of crazy tweets from Mike Lee. So yeah, they've circled the wagons. There's now he may lose voters, and not just independent voters. He may lose some Republican voters. I could certainly see that. Part of that is that the mystique is somewhat gone, right? I mean, he's not just a loser, not just a fraud, like not just a rapist. You know, just you keep piling on, and eventually maybe somebody out there is thinking, yeah, I probably shouldn't vote for this guy. He's got a bad character. But and it doesn't take much, right? Because as somebody pointed out, there's not going to be another blowout election ever again. Like they're all going to be close. This is a, you know, not quite a 50-50, but a 45-45 with some in the middle there. And those are the ones that you're fighting for. So he could end up losing a state that right now he thinks he's going to win because of this. And, you know, that's big.
Well, you know, we've said before, and you made the prediction, and we try not to do that so often here because usually our predictions are so terribly bad. I had the Mets actually going to the World Series.
We have a rule that we're not supposed to bring up our predictions after we
No, there's no rule. No, we got no, because we own it. We are accountable for our predictions. I remember 6 months. Somebody on this podcast named Scott said Biden will get 100 million votes. That would mean that Trump would get like 90 million if it's going to be that close. So, all right. So that's good for turnout. I mean, I guess that's, you know, that's a positive thing because you want people in the process taking part into it. But do you think that really maybe changes your mind that this entrenches so many people that maybe does this jeopardize Biden? You think?
I don't know.
That this hurts him?
I keep saying that Trump is going to win, and I'm hoping I'm wrong because I really don't want that to happen. I just it makes me very anxious, and this potentially, I don't know, may concretize some people and may also cause others who say, well, maybe things really aren't fair and oh, look what they're doing in it. And I don't know. I'm hopeful that people will say, well, I really can't. People who have said I cannot vote for a convicted felon will actually not find reasons to justify why they can in fact do so, which would be, well, it was really rigged. Well, these were really misdemeanors. Well, he really didn't do anything. Well, it this or that. And then they will vote for him, or they'll stay home.
Mark, tell me how it could possibly hurt Joe Biden.
Okay, so when I say it could hurt Joe Biden, it's not a matter of he'll lose votes because of this. I don't see it from that. I see anything that helps Trump's turnout as detrimental to Biden. So it's really from that perspective. I don't think Joe Biden loses a single vote because of this. I think this just basically solidifies his base even stronger. My concern when I say it could hurt Biden is that there's a very good possibility that this energizes that Trump base.
Yeah, it elevates Trump, and anything that elevates Trump
hurts
relative
Biden.
to Biden, yeah, could.
So that's the terms that I was using when I say hurt Biden, because I agreed with you back when you said he could get 100 million votes. I agreed that there was a real potential that he got 80 million last time. 81. There was a potential that he could get 100 million. Absolutely. But it all depends on turnout. Because let's face it, he got 81, Trump got 74. That's 154 million. I believe there's only 230 million of voters, eligible voters in the United States. I could be wrong with that, but it's close to that number. That's a very high turnout for an American election. I mean, as far as percentage-wise is concerned. And my fear is that, it's still possible Biden can get 100 million, but maybe this makes it more possible for Trump to get maybe not 100 million votes, but enough votes in enough swing states that he wins that absolutely albatross of our democracy, the Electoral College. That's where I am concerned about this whole situation. I worry about Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin.
Georgia. You got to be a real knucklehead to think that Biden has anything to do with this, and that's the only way that I could see anybody saying, I can't be a part of this. Yesterday was a great day for America, in my opinion. I understand your point, but I also think that you're being premature in that the country, a lot of the country was delusional about Trump because they simply didn't know that he wasn't the guy from The Apprentice, that was just a character he was playing. And that all across the country, people thought, he's such a strong guy and this and that. You have to be a quaid or a lunatic to think that now Trump, that is not Trump. He is weak and he is vain and all kinds of other stuff that Americans don't like, including a rapist, including a fraud, including a failed businessman who was gifted $400 million by his father and couldn't keep it, who only regained that money with Russian mafia connections, and we can keep piling on, and it's never going to affect his base, but it has to, at some point, sink in with people. I know I've been in politics. I spent 5 years working for a state senator in New York, and it was a matter of saying the same thing 3,000 times before they finally catch on. But you've got to keep repeating things over and over and over again. That's what he's good at, and you can see that his base repeats the same thing. They interviewed some kid on the street the other day, and he said, "Well, the judge is conflicted." Which is like an absurd thing at all. I'm pretty sure there's not a conflict in that judge's mind, but Trump keeps saying that the judge is conflicted, and people pick up on it and use it. You keep saying, over and over and over again. Convicted felon Donald Trump. Convicted felon Donald Trump. And some people who might otherwise be on the fence will fall off the fence on Biden's side.
And well, you would hope.
Yeah, I hope so. I just I see people or I've seen interviews with people who are insisting that their lives were better under Trump. I mean, people have short memories. That's what bothers me. And also, they don't seem to see the improvements and what Biden has done. They see the inflation, they see other things that is really not under Biden's control, and don't seem to understand how macroeconomics work, which are highly complex, and also don't understand the lag that some of the benefit of the economy under Trump was lag from Obama, and the struggles that Biden had at the beginning were from how Trump mismanaged COVID and from what Trump did to devastate the economy. And now things are going to be continuing to get better, but of course it's not going to be fast enough for people, and they're not really, people don't really pay attention, and they don't really understand what a dictator is, and the lack of understanding and the lack of real education about politics and reality, social reality, economic reality, and so on, that has me extremely worried, as does the Electoral College.
You know what?
So
what image comes to mind when I think of the 2020 election is the image of Trump getting back to the White House, coming off the helicopter after he had held a rally somewhere. I forget where it was, maybe Texas.
Yeah, I know.
All these kids bought the tickets for it. It was like a K-pop thing. I don't even know what K-pop is, but it was a K-pop thing. All these kids bought the tickets, and nobody went to the rally. It was empty.
And he came walking on with his head down and all that.
Right. Yeah. And that's what and I saw that yesterday when he came out. You know, he was slumped over. He pulled himself together when he saw the press, but when he first walked out, he looked like a defeated man. And you just have to keep showing these images of this defeated man and point out, maybe somebody can point out that although Fox News never reported that the economy in Obama's second term was one of the best economies of all time, and that's what Trump inherited, just like the $400 million that he inherited from his father and squandered eventually, he squandered that good Obama economy.
Exactly.
And people didn't know about it, but but there it is, and you can show it. You know, you can get the visuals there. One of the little tricks that I do with friends of mine sometimes when we're arguing on Facebook is I wipe out the bottom part of the axes and I say, here's the economy, here's how GDP grows. Now you put the line where you think Trump began. Obama ended and Trump began, and you can't do it because it's a straight line up, hockey stick up.
Right.
And there's no way to know where it was because it was just going up. And it kept going up for a while until he squandered it, but eventually he squandered it. He inherited a good economy. He didn't create one.
Yeah, exactly. And people don't understand this. And unfortunately, there's something called the backfire effect. When people are actually shown figures and facts, they'll say, oh, no, that's not true. If it contradicts what they already know for sure, they simply refuse to believe it. Oh, no, that's fake. Oh, no, that's fake. And so with some people, one is simply not going to get through. And I mean, there's nothing one can do with that, but one hopes at least that with some individuals, I have a very sinking feeling, and I'm really hoping that I'm wrong. I already have difficulty and actually down the road here going into town, someone has put a flag upside down. There's a vacant lot, and there is an upside down American flag that is bracketed in, it's not hanging on a flagpole. It is between a couple of pieces of wood, and it's stretched out, so it's standing permanently, fairly down low at eye level. And it's there. I have no idea who owns that lot, but it's been there. I thought, that's interesting. And so for me, the question is that flag inverted because Trump is back running and we can't seem to get rid of him and the threat that he poses? Is that what that actually is saying? Or is that a symbol of the insurrection and they're pro-Trump? So when people are asked the question, well, how happy are you with the way the country is moving? And people say, well, I'm not happy at all. Are you thinking about the way the country is moving because of what Trump has let loose? And how people are now treating one another? Or are you unhappy with the fact that pre-Trump we were moving in a liberal direction, a more progressive direction? And now that has stopped and we seem to be moving backward in women's rights and LGBTQ plus rights and other rights, and we seem to be moving in a much more autocratic direction.
Well, first of all, your thing that's hanging, I'm going to guarantee it's probably not the latter of your description. It's probably the former, that they are, they're supporting the insurrection, and because that's become a symbol for that. And to Scott's point about knuckleheads, yeah, and I think we make a huge mistake, and I think a lot of people make this mistake. We see what we see on the news, and we see what we see in social media, and most of the Trump supporters appear to be total knuckleheads. I mean, just absolute insane people. But you've still got these people, as we were discussing earlier, Ted Cruz, these senators who are very smart people who are also on the bandwagon. And I can also say, just in my circle of friends here in South Carolina, many educated people repeat the same stuff that what we call the knuckleheads. I mean, when we were out Wednesday night, and this was before the verdict had come in, and they were twisting themselves into knots as to why this was unfair, this whole trial. And one of them is a lawyer. And I'm sitting there going, everything you know about the law, and I totally respect this person. I think he's absolutely a good, great lawyer. And I'm sorry, you're twisting yourselves into knots because this is against your guy. And it's everybody else's fault. The idea of, and they repeat the same rhetoric. Well, this is the Biden Justice Department. The the Manhattan DA has nothing to do with the federal justice system. The federal justice system could not make the Manhattan DA bring a case if they wanted to. That's just not the way the system works. And again, this is a lawyer. He knows this, but he takes the logic, everything he knows, he throws it out the window, and he basically twists himself into knots in well, if it's against my guy, it must be bad. So it's, again, we see the knuckleheads that we see on social media and sometimes presented on some of the what they call major news networks, which I would disagree that they're really not news. And they present them as that's who we're talking about. We're not just talking about them. We're talking about some actually logical people who fall into the same trap. And how do you get them out? Again, Brooklyn, I still don't think he's going to win. I truly do not think he's going to win. I find it unfathomable. But
Mark, I hope you're right. You're right about government shutdown.
I hope I'm right about something too.
His predictions usually ironclad, so I wouldn't worry about it.
Yeah, the Mets will make a comeback sometime in the second half of the season. So that's all the time we have for today's episode. The Nova Society is a production of the Phoenix Research Institute. We'd like to thank our sponsors for this episode. BH Conflict Resolution Services, a full-service dispute resolution firm offering expert and cost-effective mediation services to couples, groups, and businesses. BHCRS can be reached at www.bhcrs.com. We'd also like to thank our podcast partners, Buzzsprout, who hosts the Nova Society, Audacity, our editing partners, and Podkite, who does all of our analytics. iHeartRadio, where people get their music and podcasts, Apple iTunes, the largest source for music and podcasts on the internet, Spotify, the most popular source for the Nova Society. The Nova Society is available on all of these and other quality platforms. We'd like to thank all of our listeners. Without you, the Nova Society would not be possible. If you have a comment, question, or would like to be a guest on the Nova Society, we can be reached at nova.society.podcast@gmail.com. Always remember, the power of society is knowledge. So for Dr. Scott Gershworth, Dr. Priscilla Hobbs, Dr. Brooklyn Ann Weldon, and all of us here at the Nova Society, I'm Dr. Mark Bound. Be well, and we hope to see you again next time.